The echo of boots thundered through the abandoned monorail tunnels just above the vault. It was a rhythmic, menacing sound, like a drumbeat signaling an approaching storm. Dust, dislodged by the heavy footfalls, rained down from the corroded ceiling, catching the dim emergency lights in a swirling dance. Cale felt the vibrations surge through the cold steel floor beneath his feet. Each tremor felt sharp, personal, like a warning bell tolling just for him. There was no doubt. The Vorta operatives were getting closer. He could almost smell the ozone from their energy weapons, feel their cold, professional focus zeroing in on this very spot. Beside him, Rowan leaned heavily against the damp wall of the vault. His face was pale in the gloom, his breathing shallow and ragged. "You don't have to go to them," Rowan said, his voice a low, urgent rasp. It was the voice of a guardian trying to protect his ward one last time. "We can still get out of here. T-Heast maintenance tunnel. It's a long shot, but it leads to the old city ruins. We can escape." Cale looked at the man who had raised him, the man who had been his only family for as long as he could remember. He appreciated the concern, the desperate hope in Rowan's eyes. But he also knew that running was no longer an option. He slowly shook his head. "No," he replied, his own voice steady, cutting through the tension in the air. "If we keep running, they'll hunt us forever. They'll never stop. Not until they have this." He glanced down at his hand, at the source of all their trouble. "There's no corner of the galaxy they won't search. We have to end this, here, now." Rowan stared at him for a long, silent moment. The air crackled with unspoken history, with the weight of years. In that gaze, Cale saw a flicker of recognition, of surprise, maybe even of pride. The quiet, obedient boy he had sheltered and protected for so long was gone. In his place stood someone new, someone steady, sharp, and utterly unflinching in the face of death. A quiet sigh escaped Rowan's lips, a sound of resignation and acceptance. "Very well," he whispered, the words barely audible over the growing din from above. "But be careful, Cale. These VORTA ... They aren't simple foot soldiers. They're the elite, cunning, ruthless." Cale flexed his wrist, a simple, deliberate movement. In response, the legacy core embedded in his wrist pulsed with a soft, ethereal white glow, its light seeming to sync with the very rhythm of his heartbeat. He felt its power hum through his veins, a familiar and reassuring warmth. It was a part of him now. He looked towards the vault door, his eyes narrowed, his resolve hardening into something unbreakable. "Good," he said softly, a ghost of a smile touching his lips. "Neither am I." The lower tunnel was narrow, lit only by dim blue emergency lights. I moved quietly, letting instinct guide me. Up ahead, I heard whispers. "Still can't believe the heir's alive." Another voice, rougher, replied, "Boss wants him alive. If he fights, break his legs." My pulse didn't quicken. Instead, a cold calmness settled over me. 3 silhouettes appeared, tactical gear, light armor, electric batons crackling with energy. Rowan had warned me not to fight, but the Elric's instincts, buried for 20 long years, were wide awake. They were sharp, and they were hungry. I exhaled slowly, stepping from the shadows, moved with silent precision. Before the first guard could even turn, I swept his leg out from under him and slammed him hard into the wall. The second lunged with his baton, but I redirected the strike, pivoted, and drove my elbow across his jaw. He crumpled. The third one panicked, fumbling for his firearm. A mistake. I grabbed his wrist and twisted. The gun clattered uselessly to the ground. I kicked it away, then lifted the man by his collar and threw him into his unconscious partners. 3 bodies, down on the floor. 12 seconds, just like before. But this time felt different. I wasn't just defending myself. I was hunting. Suddenly, a sharp sting rippled through my wrist. The legacy core, the device embedded in my skin, projected a flicker of holographic blue light, a memory. I froze, watching it unfold. I saw a man tall, broad-shouldered, wearing the formal navy robes of the Elric family. His eyes were piercing, his presence commanding. My father, the memory figure, looked straight at me. "Kale," he said, his voice clear and strong. "Strength without control is a weapon." "Kale," he said, his voice clear and strong. "Strength without control is a weapon." Then, as quickly as it came, the vision vanished. Inhaled sharply, my hand trembling. I had almost forgotten the sound of his voice. Almost. The moment was shattered by the sharp crack of gunshots. Real ones this time. I ducked behind a support pillar just as sparks exploded against the metal. A cold, precise voice echoed through the hall. Kale Elric. A tall figure stepped through the smoke, dressed in a sleek black coat with a silver Vorta insignia on his chest. An electric katana was sheathed at his side. This was no foot soldier. This was an assassin. "I've waited a long time," the man said, his voice dripping with malice. "To see the last Elric alive." I tightened my stance. "And who are you supposed to be?" He slid the katana from its sheath, the blade humming with blue arcing energy. "Eshin Vorta, first blade of the Vorta family." My legacy core vibrated with a stark warning. Threat level, high, recommended option, retreat. I ignored it. Retreat was no longer in my vocabulary. Eshin dashed forward, his blade slicing a clean arc of electricity. Eshin dashed forward, his blade slicing a clean arc of electricity. Eshin dashed forward, his blade slicing a clean arc of electricity. Kale dodged, feeling the heat graze his cheek. The assassin pressed the assault. "You fight like an Elric." But weaker. Kale gritted his teeth, slipping under a slash and jabbing Eshin's ribs. Pain shot up his arm as he blocked a counter, electricity biting into his skin. Eshin smirked. "You were supposed to die 20 years ago." Kale rushed forward, feinting left before rolling under the katana and kicking Eshin's knee. A strike to the solar plexus, then the jaw. Eshin spat blood, grinning. "Now this is worth killing for." He lunged again, a deadly arc of blue screaming toward Kale's throat. Kale reacted without thinking, raising his wrist. The legacy core flared, a circular barrier of white light forming instantly. Clang! Eshin's blade rebounded. Kale slammed the glowing barrier into the assassin's chest, sending him crashing into a wall. "This isn't over, Elric," Eshin hissed, standing slowly. "You've begun a war you can't win." Kale clenched his fists. "I didn't start this." He slammed his knee into Eshin's face. "But I'll finish it." If you're excited to follow Kale's journey and see him reclaim his birthright, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss a single moment of this epic saga. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next chapter.